He crouched low in the sand, watching the horizon twist with smoke and fire, every nerve taut, his body aching from hours of crawling and running, the desert stretching endlessly before him, leaving suspense sharp and unforgiving hum of distant engines vibrated through the ground, making him flinch. The convoy scattered in chaos, tracer rounds slicing past his head. He pressed his face to the dirt, praying for some sign of salvation, leaving anticipation. Razor-edged flames licked the ruins of the Humvees, casting flickering shadows across the battlefield sand, kicking up with each distant explosion, his hands shaking as he reached for a wounded soldier, the smoke thick and suffocating, leaving tension. Tal whispered to himself, counting seconds, tracing the path the enemy might take, the SEALs providing covering fire while he dragged the injured inch by inch across the hot sand, every heartbeat stretching longer than the last, leaving suspense sharp. The sun dipped low behind clouds of dust, the desert alive with fire and shattered metal, the smell of burning fuel thick in the air. He glanced skyward, hoping for anything, leaving anticipation. Razor-edged explosions cracked around him, throwing debris and rocks across the scorched earth. The SEALs moved with deadly precision, covering every inch of the convoy while he pulled the wounded to safety, leaving tension slicing sharp. Dust clouds rose from every corner, tracer rounds humming like angry hornets as he ducked low, counting the seconds until the next explosion, while the horizon shimmered with heat, leaving suspense taut. A distant roar broke through the chaos, engines screaming, metal groaning. He froze, hoping it was not another threat but a sign of help, leaving anticipation. Razor-edged Humvees jerked violently, sparks flying from destroyed panels, the wounded clinging to cover, while he barked orders, coordinating every move with the SEALs' eyes scanning the horizon, leaving tension slicing sharp. The desert trembled with every mortar strike, sand and smoke flying in clouds around him. He dragged the injured behind wreckage, hearts pounding and nerves screaming, leaving suspense taut. Tracer rounds whipped past, scorching the sand, the convoy inching forward, each movement calculated. The A-10 above twisting low, one engine smoking, leaving anticipation. Razor-edged explosions erupted near the ridge, sand and debris scattering as he pressed the wounded lower, coordinating fire with the SEALs, the aircraft limping violently, leaving tension slicing sharp. The horizon shimmered with heat waves, smoke spiraling from destroyed vehicles, the desert alive with chaos. He glanced skyward, praying the aircraft would hold together, leaving suspense taut. Humvees lurched forward, sparks flying from torn panels, the SEALs adjusting fire every second, stretching endlessly, while the A-10 twisted violently above, leaving anticipation. Razor-edged and smoke filled the air, tracer rounds cutting through the battlefield, the wounded pressing low while he barked final orders, the aircraft twisting low, one engine failing, leaving tension slicing sharp. The sun dipped below the dunes, long shadows stretching across the sand, explosions erupting nearby. He pressed the wounded lower, coordinating covering fire with the SEALs, leaving suspense taut. Mortar rounds shook the earth, dust clouds rising high while the convoy crawled forward, the A-10 limping low, sparks raining from ripped panels, engines screaming, leaving anticipation. Razor-edged glanced skyward, counting seconds, each heartbeat longer than the last, the Humvees crawling forward, the SEALs covering every inch of movement. Tracer rounds whizzing past, leaving tension slicing sharp. Smoke and fire spiraled across the battlefield, the desert trembling under repeated blasts, the wounded clinging to cover while the aircraft twisted violently above, leaving suspense taut. Tracer rounds zipped past, scorching the sand beneath him, the Humvees jerking forward, sparks flying, the SEALs adjusting fire, the A-10 limping low, one engine failing, leaving anticipation. Razor-edged explosions erupted around the convoy, sand and metal raining across the desert floor. He pulled the wounded behind cover, the SEALs firing with deadly precision, leaving tension slicing sharp. The horizon shimmered with heat waves, distant dust spiraling from destroyed vehicles, the convoy inching forward every second, stretching long while the aircraft twisted low, leaving suspense taut. Tracer rounds streaked past his head, scorching the desert floor, sparks flying from destroyed panels, the wounded clinging to cover while the limping A-10 twisted violently, leaving anticipation. Razor-edged commander barked final coordinates, the convoy Inching toward a ridge, the SEALs maintaining perimeter, the aircraft twisting, low engines screaming, sparks flying, leaving tension, slicing, sharp dust clouds rose from nearby explosions, sand and debris flying, the Humvees crawling forward inch by inch. The wounded pressed close, while the A-10 twisted low, leaving suspense taut. Smoke and flames spiraled high across the battlefield, the desert trembling under the roar of engines. He dragged the wounded inch by inch, the SEALs providing covering fire while the aircraft twisted violently, leaving anticipation. Razor-edged Humvees jerked forward, sparks flying from torn panels, tracer rounds cutting the air, the wounded clinging to cover, the A-10 limping low above, leaving tension slicing. Sharp horizon shimmered with heat waves, distant explosions erupting, the desert alive with chaos, the convoy crawling forward, every movement calculated, while the aircraft twisted low, leaving suspense taut, pressed the wounded closer, dragging them behind wreckage, the SEALs covering every move, the Humvees inching forward, sparks flying, tracer rounds sizzling past, leaving anticipation. Razor-edged the desert trembled under repeated blasts, the convoy inching toward open ground, the SEALs maintaining perimeter, the limping A-10 twisting low, leaving tension, slicing, sharp explosions erupted nearby, sand and debris flying every direction, while he coordinated covering fire, the wounded pressing low, the Humvees crawling forward, the aircraft twisting violently, leaving suspense taut. Horizon shimmered with heat waves, distant smoke spiraling high, the convoy inching forward, the SEALs firing with deadly precision, the A-10 twisting low, sparks flying, leaving anticipation. Razor-edged tracer rounds zipped past, scorching the sand beneath his fingers, while he barked orders, coordinating fire, the Humvees inching forward, the wounded clinging to cover, the aircraft twisting violently, leaving tension slicing sharp. The roar of the A-10 shook the desert as it twisted, low engines screaming, sparks raining from its hull, the convoy pressed on inch by inch, dust and debris choking the air, leaving suspense taut crouched behind a shattered Humvee, dragging the wounded to safety. Tracer rounds sizzling past him, the heat from nearby explosions scorching his back, the SEALs calling coordinates across the chaos, leaving anticipation. Razor-edged smoke spiraled into the sky from destroyed vehicles, flames licking metal and sand, while he scanned for another sign of danger, every heartbeat counting the seconds until the next attack, leaving tension slicing. Sharp tracer rounds zipped past his head, kicking up sand into his eyes. He blinked, pressed the wounded closer, and barked for the SEALs to cover, the Humvees sparks flying from torn panels, the A-10 twisting violently overhead, leaving suspense taut. Desert trembled with every explosion, mortar rounds ripping the earth apart, the wounded gasping while the convoy inched forward, dust clouds obscuring the horizon, the A-10 screaming low, one engine smoking, leaving anticipation. Razor-edged counted seconds as each Humvee lurched forward, sparks flying, tracer rounds cutting the air, the SEALs methodical in covering fire, while the aircraft limped violently above, leaving tension slicing. Sharp flames licked high into the sky, the desert alive with chaos. He pressed the injured behind wreckage, the Humvees jerking forward, tracer rounds cutting past the SEALs covering every inch, leaving suspense taut. Explosions cracked around him, sand and metal flying, the convoy inching toward a ridge, sparks raining from destroyed panels, the wounded pressing low, the A-10 twisting violently above, leaving anticipation. Razor-edged sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the battlefield, the Humvees crawling forward, dust and smoke swirling, the SEALs maintaining fire and movement, the aircraft limping low, leaving tension slicing. Sharp tracer rounds whizzed past, scorching the sand beneath his hands. He dragged the wounded closer, the convoy moving inch by inch, every second stretching longer, while the A-10 screamed across the sky, leaving suspense taut. Mortar strikes shook the desert, the Humvees jerking, sparks flying, metal twisting, the SEALs adjusting fire, each movement precise, while the aircraft twisted violently above, leaving anticipation. Razor-edged pressed the injured lower, coordinating with the SEALs, tracer rounds cutting the air, explosions erupting nearby, sand and debris rising high, the A-10 limping low, leaving tension slicing. Sharp horizon shimmered with heat waves, smoke spiraling from burning vehicles, the desert trembling under repeated blasts, the convoy inching forward, every Inch precious, while the aircraft twisted low, leaving suspense taut. Dust clouds rose from every explosion, tracer rounds humming past, the Humvees crawling, sparks flying, the wounded clinging to cover, the SEALs methodical, the A-10 twisting violently. Leaving anticipation razor-edged, allowed himself a brief glance skyward, the engine screaming, sparks raining from the torn hull, the Humvees inching forward, the SEALs covering every move, the wounded pressing low, leaving tension, slicing, sharp explosions erupted around him, the sand kicked up in clouds, the convoy inching toward open ground, the SEALs providing covering fire, the aircraft twisting low, one engine failing, leaving suspense taut. Racer rounds zipped past, scorching the desert floor, the Humvees jerking forward, sparks flying, metal twisting, the wounded clinging to cover, while the A-10 limped violently above, leaving anticipation razor-edged. Smoke and fire spiraled high, the desert alive with chaos. He barked orders, coordinating the SEALs' movements, the convoy inching forward, every second stretching long, while the aircraft twisted low, leaving tension, slicing sharp, dragged the injured behind a crumpled Humvee, counting seconds, the Humvees inching forward, sparks flying from torn panels, tracer rounds cutting the air, the A-10 limping violently above, leaving suspense taut. Mortar rounds cracked around the ridge, sand and debris flying, the convoy crawling inch by inch, the wounded pressing low, the SEALs providing lethal covering fire, the aircraft twisting low, leaving anticipation razor-edged. Horizon shimmered, heat waves rising, the desert trembling with each blast, the Humvees jerking forward, tracer rounds slicing the air, while the A-10 twisted violently overhead, leaving tension, slicing sharp, glanced skyward, each second stretching long, the wounded clinging to cover, the SEALs methodical in their fire, the Humvees inching forward, the aircraft limping low, leaving suspense taut. Explosions erupted nearby, the desert shaking, dust and sand raining down, sparks flying, the convoy crawling inch by inch, the A-10 twisting violently above, engines screaming, leaving anticipation razor-edged. Humvees lurched forward, sparks flying from destroyed panels, tracer rounds slicing past, the wounded clinging to cover, the SEALs adjusting fire, the aircraft limping low, leaving tension, slicing sharp. Smoke spiraled high across the battlefield, flames licking metal, the desert alive with chaos. He pressed the injured lower, coordinating every move with the SEALs, the Humvees inching forward, the A-10 twisting violently, leaving suspense taut. Racer rounds zipped past, scorching the sand beneath his hands. He counted seconds, the convoy inching toward the ridge, sparks raining from destroyed panels, the wounded pressing low, the aircraft twisting low, leaving anticipation razor-edge. Mortar strikes shook the desert floor, debris flying, the Humvees crawling inch by inch, the SEALs covering every movement, the wounded clinging to cover, the A-10 limping low, leaving tension, slicing sharp, pressed the injured behind wreckage, sparks flying, tracer rounds cutting the air, the Humvees inching forward, the SEALs methodical, the aircraft twisting violently, engines screaming, leaving suspense taut. Horizon shimmered with heat waves, distant smoke spiraling high, the convoy inching forward, the wounded pressing low, the Humvees crawling, the SEALs providing covering fire, the A-10 twisting low, leaving anticipation razor edged. Clouds rose with every explosion, tracer rounds slicing the air, the Humvees jerking forward, sparks flying, the wounded clinging to cover, the SEALs adjusting fire, the aircraft limping low, leaving tension, slicing sharp, glanced skyward, each second counting heartbeats, the convoy inching forward, the Humvees crawling, sparks flying, the SEALs coordinating fire, the wounded pressing low, the A-10 twisting violently, leaving suspense taut. Desert trembled under repeated blasts, the Humvees jerking forward, the convoy inching towards safety, sparks flying, the wounded clinging to cover, the SEALs methodical, while the A-10 twisted low, leaving anticipation razor-edged. Explosions erupted around him, sand and debris flying, the Humvees crawling inch by inch, the SEALs providing covering fire, the wounded pressing low, the aircraft limping low, engines screaming, leaving tension, slicing sharp. Horizon shimmered with heat waves, smoke spiraling high, the desert alive with chaos. He dragged the injured behind wreckage, sparks flying, the Humvees inching forward, the SEALs methodical, the A-10 twisting low, leaving suspense taut. Racer rounds zipped past, scorching the sand beneath him, the Humvees jerking forward, the wounded clinging to Cover the SEALs firing in unison, the aircraft limping low, leaving anticipation razor-edged. Clouds rose from every explosion, sand and metal flying, the convoy crawling inch by inch, the SEALs adjusting fire, the wounded pressing low, the A-10 twisting violently above, leaving tension slicing sharp. The desert shook as the limping A-10 screamed, low sparks flying from torn panels, engines screaming, the convoy inching forward every second, stretching, the wounded clinging to cover, leaving suspense. Towed pressed, the injured closer ducking behind. Debris tracer rounds sizzling past, explosions throwing sand into the air, the SEALs adjusting fire, the A-10 twisting violently overhead, leaving anticipation razor-edged. Smoke spiraled into the sky, flames licking metal, the desert alive with chaos. He counted heartbeats every second, stretching longer, the Humvees crawling forward, sparks raining from destroyed panels, leaving tension slicing sharp. Tracer rounds zipped past, scorching the sand beneath him. He barked orders, coordinating every movement. The wounded pressing low, the SEALs providing lethal covering fire, the A-10 limping low, leaving suspense. Top mortar strikes cracked the ground, dust and debris flying, the Humvees jerking forward, the convoy inching toward a ridge, the wounded clinging to cover, sparks flying, engines screaming, leaving anticipation razor-edged. Horizon shimmered with heat waves, smoke spiraling high, the desert trembling under repeated blasts. He glanced skyward, praying the aircraft would hold together, leaving tension slicing sharp. Explosions erupted nearby, sand and metal raining down, the SEALs methodical in their fire, the convoy crawling inch by inch, the wounded pressed low, the A-10 twisting violently above, leaving suspense. Towed Humvees lurched forward, sparks flying, tracer rounds cutting the air, the wounded clinging to cover, while the SEALs coordinated fire, the limping A-10 screaming across the sky, leaving anticipation razor-edged. Dragged the injured behind wreckage, counting seconds each heartbeat longer than the last, the Humvees crawling forward, dust and smoke swirling, the aircraft twisting low, leaving tension slicing sharp. Flames licked high into the sky, the desert alive with chaos, the convoy inching forward, the SEALs providing lethal covering fire, the wounded pressing low, the A-10 twisting violently, leaving suspense. Tow tracer rounds whipped past, scorching the sand beneath him. He pressed the injured closer, sparks flying from torn panels, the Humvees jerking forward, engines screaming, the aircraft limping low, leaving anticipation razor-edge. Mortar rounds shook the desert floor, dust clouds rising high, the convoy crawling inch by inch, the SEALs covering every movement, the wounded clinging to cover, the A-10 twisting violently, leaving tension slicing sharp. Allowed himself a glance skyward, the limping aircraft engines screaming, metal sparking, the Humvees crawling, the SEALs adjusting fire, the wounded pressing low, leaving suspense. Taut explosions erupted around him, sand and debris flying, the convoy inching toward open ground, sparks raining from destroyed panels, the SEALs methodical in covering fire, the A-10 twisting low, leaving anticipation razor-edged. Tracer rounds zipped past, scorching the desert floor. He dragged the injured behind cover, the Humvees inching forward, the wounded clinging to safety, the aircraft limping low, leaving tension slicing sharp. Smoke and fire spiraled high, flames licking metal, the desert alive with chaos. He barked orders, coordinating the SEALs' movements, the convoy crawling, sparks flying, while the A-10 twisted violently, leaving suspense. Towed horizon shimmered with heat waves, distant explosions erupting, the Humvees crawling inch by inch, the wounded pressing low. The SEALs methodical, the aircraft twisting low, one engine failing, leaving anticipation razor-edged. Pressed the injured lower, counting seconds, each one stretching long, the convoy inching forward, the Humvees jerking, sparks flying, metal twisting. The A-10 limping violently, leaving tension slicing sharp. Mortar strikes shook the desert, the sand kicking up, debris flying, the convoy crawling, the SEALs covering every movement, the wounded clinging to cover, the aircraft twisting low, leaving suspense. Tow tracer rounds zipped past, scorching the sand beneath his hands, the Humvees inching forward, sparks flying, engines screaming, the SEALs providing covering fire, the wounded pressing low, the A-10 twisting violently, leaving anticipation razor-edged. Explosions erupted near by the desert, trembling, dust and debris flying, the convoy inching towards safety, sparks raining from destroyed panels, the seals methodical, the aircraft limping low, leaving tension slicing sharp, allowed a shaky breath glancing skyward. The Humvees crawling, the wounded pressing low, the seals coordinating every move, the A-10 twisting low, engines screaming, sparks flying, leaving suspense. South desert shook under repeated blasts, the convoy inching forward, every second stretching. Long the seals methodical, the wounded clinging to cover, the limping A-10 twisting violently, leaving anticipation. Razor-edged tracer rounds zipped past, scorching the sand, the Humvees jerking forward, sparks flying, metal twisting, the seals covering every inch, the wounded pressing low, the aircraft limping low, leaving tension slicing sharp. Smoke spiraled into the sky, flames licking wreckage, the desert alive with chaos. He dragged the injured closer, the convoy crawling inch by inch, sparks raining from destroyed panels, the A-10 twisting violently, leaving suspense. South horizon shimmered, heat waves rising, distant explosions erupting, the Humvees crawling, the wounded clinging to cover, the seals adjusting fire, the aircraft limping low, leaving anticipation. Razor-edged pressed, the injured lower counting heartbeats, the convoy inching forward, sparks flying from torn panels, the seals providing lethal covering fire, the wounded pressed low, the A-10 twisting low, leaving tension slicing sharp. Mortar rounds cracked the desert floor, sand and debris flying, the Humvees crawling inch by inch, the wounded clinging to cover, the seals covering every movement, the aircraft limping violently, leaving suspense. Tracer rounds zipped past, scorching the sand beneath him, sparks raining from destroyed panels, the Humvees jerking forward, the wounded pressing low, the seals methodical in fire, the A-10 twisting violently, leaving anticipation. Razor-edged explosions erupted around him, the desert trembling. Dust and debris flying, the convoy crawling, the seals adjusting fire, the wounded clinging to cover, the limping aircraft leaving tension slicing sharp. Humvees lurched forward, sparks flying, tracer rounds sizzling past, the wounded pressing low. The seals methodical, the A-10 twisting low, engines screaming, leaving suspense. South glanced skyward, counting seconds, each heartbeat longer than the last, the convoy inching forward, the Humvees crawling, sparks flying, the seals coordinating fire. The wounded pressing low, leaving anticipation. Razor-edged clouds rose high, tracer rounds slicing the air, the Humvees jerking forward, sparks raining from destroyed panels, the seals covering every move, the wounded clinging to cover, the aircraft twisting violently, leaving tension slicing sharp. Smoke and flames spiraled high, the desert alive with chaos. He dragged the injured behind wreckage, the Humvees crawling inch by inch, the seals firing with deadly precision, sparks flying, the A-10 twisting low, leaving suspense. Tracer rounds zipped past, scorching the sand beneath him, the Humvees jerking forward, the wounded pressing low, the seals adjusting fire, the aircraft limping low, engines screaming, leaving anticipation. Razor-edged convoy inch towards safety, the desert trembling under repeated blasts, sparks flying from destroyed panels, the wounded clinging to cover, the seals methodical, the limping A-10 twisting violently above, leaving tension slicing sharp. Sun dipped below. The horizon shadows stretching long, the Humvees crawling inch by inch, the wounded pressed low, the seals providing covering fire, the aircraft limping low, engines screaming, sparks flying, leaving suspense. Taut